I'm joined here today by the one, the only, it is of course Lauren Murphy, set to take on Cynthia Calvillo in what's set to be an exciting fight and an exciting opportunity coming up real soon. What's going on? How are you?
Oh, nothing. Chilling. It's kind of rainy here in Houston today, so loving the weather.
It's funny when we think of Houston. I don't think we usually think rain, right? Like with Texas, we always think like the sun and the cows. So I didn't know
Yeah.
Houston got rain.
It does. Yeah, it gets actually quite a bit of rain and then it floods sometimes and honestly today though is just like a nice cozy rainy day. It's really nice.
And so how have things been for you in Houston? I know you've been there for a little bit now, and you've kind of been all over the United States, right? The cold parts, some warmer parts. How's Houston been overall?
Man, I love Houston. I absolutely love it here. I love the camp that I'm with. I love God, I just love it here. I love the weather. The house that we found is absolutely perfect for us. I love my coaches really a lot. I love the people that I get to work with. I love my job. Like, I think this is maybe the happiest I've been, gosh, in just so long. Like, I just feel so happy here. I love it.
And is it fair to say this is like the final stop, right? Like we've seen all the states. Is it fair to say Houston that's the final one, or we're still gonna see?
Who can say? I
Right.
mean, who can say? But yeah, I could see myself staying in Houston. We'd like to have a place near a beach somewhere.
Oh yeah.
So someday maybe we'll have like a beach house or I don't know. But there's beaches in Texas. They ain't that
Right.
good.
Yeah. I've never heard someone rave about the beaches in Texas. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's nothing to rave about, sure.
Exactly. Let's talk about this fight a little bit because you're taking on Cynthia Calvillo. I mentioned off the top it was an exciting opportunity. How did this fight kind of come together? I don't think you have a manager, so I assume like the UFC must have came to you directly. You talked about this opponent. I mean, how did it come together?
Yeah, well, after my last fight against Roxanne, it was like Cynthia's like the girl to beat right now. Like she walked into the division, she had a great performance against Jessica I. Um, she hasn't. I think Carla Esparza is the only person to beat her. She's never been finished. Uh, she's just the girl to beat right now, and she's an exciting fighter too. Like she'll have a lot of eyes on her, and it just looked like that was the next logical step for me. And so I don't mind fighting who I need to fight to get to the top. And Cynthia happened to be the one at that time that looked like it was the path to the title. So
And so the division, I mean, it's a little bit weird right now, right? Because we saw that Joanne Calderwood was supposed to get the shot. It kind of fell out. Then we saw Maya get the shot. What are you thinking this whole time when you're kind of watching sort of this division unfold?
it's fine with me. The UFC can do whatever they want with the division. My job is to fight and convince the UFC that, I'm worthy of a title shot. Um, so that's kind of all I'm really focused on. I love the division though. I think it's really exciting. I love the fighters that we have in it. I love the fights that I've had in it. So I think the division is fine. Yeah, there's a lot of really exciting fights, and then they keep bringing up all the like 115ers, like popular 115ers, to fight at 125, and we'll see how that goes. I think some of those 115ers are going to go back down to 115 though, eventually. So
And so do you feel for these people that are coming up, like Cynthia, like we saw the 115ers moving up to 125, do you think like maybe the 10-pound gap is a little bit bigger than people realize? Like it might have more of an effect than it looks like maybe from the outside?
maybe. I know for me at least, the cut to 125 is not easy, and it takes some time. And I have a lot of lean muscle mass, and it just takes time for me to cut down the weight. Um, I know that when I fought at 135, I did not have to cut that much. It was nice, to kind of eat whatever I wanted during camp and feel more fuel during camp. But there were a couple times at 135 where I definitely felt a little outsized, like against Sarah McMahon, even against like Kelly Fashholes when I fought her. Um, yeah, I just felt really tiny compared to those women. So I would imagine that must be what it's like for a 115er to come up to 125 and be a little bit faster, but they're definitely not going to be as strong or as powerful or as big. I think a lot of them are going to lose a lot in the reach department as well. So we'll see how it goes for them. I understand the UFC wanting to bring up talent into the 125 division because it's new, and so there's not, there's people are saying it's a shallow division, but it's just new, really. If you just
Right.
give it a little bit of time, you're going to see some superstars in there develop that you don't need to bring in from other divisions.
And so when you move down from 135 and then you move down to 125, did you notice a big difference in your strength compared to your other opponents at all?
Uh, it's hard to say because it took me a while to kind of get the cut right. So since I started working with Dr. Capodoglio, he's my nutritionist. Yes, ever since I was working with him and Andy Galpin, Yeah, I feel a big difference in strength. I feel like, and I know I'm one of the strongest women in the division because at the PI they did like the testing for me and they said I'm world leading in strength. So I know that I'm very strong. Well, I might have to answer. I think I have to answer this.
While we're on the subject of hearing your dogs bark, though, there is one thing I'm curious about because we saw you kind of have to adopt a dog, right, on Twitter. I was following along the whole story. Can you tell us kind of what happened there?
Yeah, there she is. Say hi, George. She there's my other one, Penny. She just wandered into our lives, really. Like, um, I went to go get in the car one morning to go to the gym, and she was outside, and she tried to crawl in the car with me. Like, she tried to get in the front seat, and she's really big, and she looks kind
Yeah,
of like a pit bull. So I was kind of scared. I was like, oh my god, like, who's this dog? You know?
right.
She was friendly and wagging her tail and trying to lick me. So I walked her around a little bit, and nobody came to claim her. And so I went to the gym. I came back and she was sitting in our front yard.
I
Like, yeah, and it was hot outside. It was summertime. She was, so I got her some food and water. And that night she was still in the neighborhood and she's still hanging out right in front of our house, really. It was
right.
like it was almost like she picked us, to be honest with you. So we took her in, we put her in the backyard for one night and took her to the vet the next day, and she had no chip, like no microchip, and she had like a couple things that like a couple health issues, but she had like some skin issues she needed to get taken care of and worms and stuff like that. And so we got her all fixed up, and by the time she started feeling better and she'd stayed with us a few days, we were in love with her. Like, so we got her chipped. She's a Murphy now, and we started taking her and this one to obedience classes, and yeah, so she's part of the family now. We're so glad. Like, I'm so glad she picked us. Penny's a little jealous still.
It's funny because I remember seeing on Twitter like, "Oh, we have to find her a home. We can't keep her." And then a few weeks later, I was like, "All right, well, we're keeping her. Say hello to the new member of the family."
Yeah, at first we were like, no way. We always said we would only have Dobermans, like Penny's a Doberman, and so we just wanted Dobermans. But what can you do? It's like we would never bring her to a shelter. Those places are awful. So
Right.
we would never bring her to a shelter, and we're certainly not going to just turn her back out on the street. So, I mean, I honestly think Marge knew what she was doing. She was like, oh, these look like dog people. So
Right.
I think she knew we were going to take care of her. And she's been so sweet. She's never growled at, not even at this one or anybody in the family. She's pretty goofy. She's like, loves to play. So we have the room and we have the means to take care of her. And my husband absolutely adores her. So she's ours.
Right. It made sense. It's I guess a match made in heaven, we can say.
Yeah, I think so.
So getting back to the fight stuff, so we did see you live getting the passport for Fight Island. So I guess the travel is getting squared away. But what was your reaction when you found out you'd be competing on the legendary Fight Island?
Just super excited, super proud. Like, I feel like I'm really showing UFC that I deserve these spots. Like, it's taken some time for me, I think, to kind of convince them, but I'm chipping away, and like I deserve to be on these big cards, and I do put on a good show, and I fight really hard, and I have some big wins against tough people. And so I think that, I've just been showing the UFC every fight that I belong on these big cards. I belong on the main card. I deserve to be getting these wins. I deserve big paydays. I think I want to show them that I deserve to be on the main card. It's going to be time to renegotiate a new contract for me soon, and I want to show them that I'm worthy of a really big contract, for my next one. So, yeah, like I said, their job is to promote, and my job is to fight and convince them that I'm worth promoting. So that's kind of where my head is at these days.
And so what's the travel going to be like to Fight Island? 'Cause I saw we see the pictures on Twitter, right? It looks like the fighters got the really nice seats. They put the media down in coach. Are you going to be sitting in one of the nice seats?
I hope so, man. It looks like that's how they're treating the fighters. So I'm pretty excited about that. Traveling somewhere with class.
Yeah, for sure, and especially on such a long trip too. Like it's got to be nice to be able to spread out and have some room too.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I think too that they're kind of like, okay, like we're asking these guys to fight during a pandemic. Dana tells us all the time, like whenever we fight, how much he appreciates the fighters doing what we do, and especially to fight during a pandemic when a lot of people's gyms are shut down. Everybody's lives are kind of turned upside down right now, and so I feel like the UFC is so appreciative of us, like still stepping up, doing our jobs, putting on good shows, and really, you know, the UFC was the first sport back on TV, and like the fighters obviously play an integral part in that. And I think Dana and the UFC is just super appreciative, and maybe this is just one way that they can show us, that they do care about the fighters.
For sure. Getting back to this fight with Cynthia Calvillo, is it fair to say this is the fight for the number one contender spot? Like whoever wins this one potentially gets that title shot.
I would hope so. I
Right.
mean, look, who else are they going to give it to at this point? It's like you're bringing up Jessica Andrade to fight Caitlin Chukagian the week before, and I could see maybe Andrade having like a fantastic performance. I mean, look, Chukagian's hard to beat, so I think that was kind of it's a tough match for both women. But it's like, okay, if Andrade has this phenomenal performance and people are clamoring to see her fight for the title, I could see the UFC maybe doing that. But it's like at the same time, it's like, okay, you got Jennifer Maia in there fighting for the title right now. She's 1-1 in her last two, and she's missed weight 2 times out of her last 4, I think. And I'm over here literally have never missed weight. I'm on a 3-fight win streak. One of them's a finish. They're all wins over ranked opponents in the 125 division. Do you know what I mean? It's like I have a longer win streak, I think, than, I don't know, maybe anybody else in the division, but it's definitely the longest over ranked opponent. So the UFC is going to do whatever they want and give the title shot to whoever they want. Like I said, like the guy in there right now, she's missed weight. She's 1-1 in her last 2, and I'm over here with like way better accolades than that. But it's fine, and I'll tell you why. Because I want to fight all these women, and I want to prove to everybody, the UFC, the fans, myself, everybody, that I'm the true number one contender, and this is the way to do that. So I don't mind fighting to prove that. That doesn't really bother me. I just have to kind of look at the situation the way it is and be like, well, y'all are the ones putting Jennifer Maia into the shot for some reason. It doesn't really make any sense, but that's okay. That's fine. I'll continue to prove like who I am and what I'm about, and you guys can sit back and watch.
For sure. How do you like the matchup against Cynthia Calvillo? I've never heard a fighter say they don't like the matchup, so I assume that's not going to be the first time we hear that today.
No, I mean, I just like to fight, honestly. Oh, you guys are getting a view of my house. I just like to fight, honestly. Cynthia's a good one because she's exciting. So really, it's like I just want to avoid having fights with people that are, going to try to like lay and pray or just like jab and run away or something like that. I don't really like having fights like that. But Cynthia's an exciting fighter, and she's pretty well-rounded, so I think it'll be a super good matchup. I think the fans are going to enjoy it. Dana's going to enjoy it. It's going to be a good night.
All right, and one last question. We'll let you go. Kind of an easy one that you're going to hear a million times, but how do you see yourself getting the job done on a Fight Island?
TKO. I want my 9th TKO. It'll be the 9th TKO on my record, and that's what we're all hoping for on this end, is a TKO finish.
All right, well, there it is. Thank you so much for the time, Lauren. I really appreciate it. We look forward to this fight. Obviously, you know that it's going to be a great one.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.